This is the Best of the Week on Relevant Radio.
Recently, the Holy Fathers have said that we are opposed to capital punishment. I don't think this has been said as infallible church teaching, but it is consistent church teaching that we are opposed to capital punishment. We are opposed to the death penalty. And I have a kind of an odd take on it, as you would expect. Death, if you are a believer, is not a punishment. It is an inevitability. The scriptures are clear. God does not wish the death of a sinner. And if a person commits the crime of murder, he is most probably a sinner. So that's the line I start with. So you're opposed to the death penalty. Yes, I am opposed to the death penalty, though I am not necessarily opposed to the execution of criminals under certain circumstances. Well, isn't it the same thing? No, it is not. The death penalty is contrary to Scripture. I really believe that. There are situations in which the only way one can protect society is by the execution of a criminal. And those cases are extreme. For instance, if I'm on a desert island and we've got nothing stronger than bamboo, and there's somebody killing the people on the desert island, and he's caught, he's tried, it's clear he's the murderer, and we can do nothing but imprison him in a cell of bamboo, and he breaks out every night and kills someone else, it may be necessary for the protection of the person. However, in our society, that is not the case. It is morally wrong to wish a murderer in hell. It comes to us naturally that you kill my family, I would like to see you rot in hell forever. That's reprehensible. The visionaries of Fatima, when they saw hell, realized you shouldn't wish your worst enemy in hell. To wish someone to suffer eternally puts us beyond Hitler, beyond Stalin. Not believing in life after death, they wanted people to suffer temporarily. But should I want someone to suffer endlessly, eternally? That would make me worse than Hitler. Well, the great concept of justice, I believe, I'd have to really do some more research on this, but the idea of justice, DK, has to do with scales. You've all seen that statue of justice who's blindfolded and has scales, that there's an even balance. That's not the Hebrew concept of justice. God is just, and an important element of justice is generosity and mercy. To love is to will the good of another, as I'm always telling you. God is love. So the person who killed Charlie Kirk, the person who killed my uncle in his store, the person who kills anyone, I am obliged to will his good. And I think we have to come from that perspective, that God is the will to goodness. God is love. Not just emotion and feeling positive about someone. So is the execution of a criminal for his good or for society's good? There may be situations in which it is good for society, but I cannot see it as good for that person. The death penalty, I think, is not godly. The execution of a criminal in rare circumstances may be. And there's, to me, a great difference in that. In our society, we are not in a situation in which we must execute people for the good of society. I don't believe we are. Scriptures are clear. God does not will the death of a sinner, and that we are obliged to long for the good of everyone. And when we think about the death penalty in that sense, I think we need to reevaluate some of our basic prejudices. And just as a Catholic, I am very proud of our sister in the Lord, Erica Kirk, that she could do that. It's a powerful thing, and I think she meant it. I remember being at a retreat where some man stood up and said, "I want to publicly forgive the man who stole my wife and children." I was just floored at his forgiveness. That was how deep his conversion was at that retreat. And, I'm saying this as someone who has lost a loved one to murder. My uncle was killed in his store for $10. I will never forget when my mom called and said, "Your Uncle Ed was shot today in his store." It was a horrible event. He and the woman who worked with him in a luggage store in Detroit were shot. I remember the two funeral processions essentially crossed on the way to the graveyards. And as a Catholic and a Christian, I'm obliged to will the good of the man who shot him, who they essentially caught. He was not tried for the murder of my uncle. He was tried for the murder of other people and has ended his life in jail. So this is a personal thing for me, that someone I love and who was very good to me, a very dear person of my childhood, one of the sweetest men I've ever known, a gentleman, he was killed for $10.
Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends, and thanks for listening.